India, 2.6 trillion, almost the same as the whole of Africa. UK, 2.6 trillion. France, 2.6 trillion. Germany, 3.85 trillion. Tomorrow, South Korea, imagine. 1.6 trillion, almost like Africa. That South Korea is half the size of Uganda in land area. It is when you combine North Korea and South Korea that it's about the size of Uganda. USA, 20 trillion, 20.89 trillion. China, 14.7 trillion. Yet Africa is 12 times the size of India, with a population of 1.4 billion. It is 4 times the size of the USA. The continued export of raw materials by Africa is the new form of slavery. Export of value in exchange for no value. Because that's what was happening with the slaves, with our ignorant chiefs. They would sell their people, they give him a mirror to look at himself. The idiot looks at himself in a mirror, and that's wonderful. Then he puts on monkey skins and ostrich feathers, that he's beautiful, he's handsome. Giving them combs. They would give a human being, and they give him a comb to comb his hair. Or for little value, like now, 10% value of the final product. The export of raw materials and slaves for the last 600 years is the cause of this stunting of the African economy. Stunting, they call it Tokuningama in Nyankore. Ever since 1986, I've been trying to get value adders to all our raw materials. Sometimes I succeed, like with milk. I got a company called Samir who came and helped me. Brookside, the one of Kenya. Pearl, the one of Mbarara. Akagate, there's another factory in that area. Cotton, like Nightir and fine spinners. Wood, like plywood in Katugo. Palm oil, like Bidco. There is a man who has come to Maruzi, a group who are growing palm oil in Maruzi. Did you get that picture, you people? If my people got it, show it to them. I was very happy to see that is now Maruzi. You see how Maruzi is now looking? That is palm oil. My people have now done something. They never do much. The Mnyangore says, that, no, you put it back. All these people know Museveni, they have seen Museveni for a long time. Let them see palm oil. That palm oil is the group who are doing sugar in the Chiriandongo, in the Chinyara. They are the ones who asked me, and I gave them Maruzi. Put it. Where are you rushing? Ugendawa. Take a call. I saw that picture. I have not been there. Put it back, you man. Now, they are using irrigation of the Nile to grow that palm oil. So this crying, the way you are crying for sabuni from Malaysia, very soon we shall be the ones selling to the whole world. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you, Omona. Omona has done something now also. I'm going to say, okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Well, you know, when you thank them, then they make things worse. I'm going to say, Chiteita Yitomshure. There is a very slow flying bird, very lazy. The one which eats ripe bananas. So the one who does not know how to aim properly. If he kills Omshure, then he's very proud because he has killed a lazy bird. So the palm oil, wood in Katugo, palm oil in like Bidiko, sugar, many companies, petroleum, a refinery. The battle I had for the refinery. The oil companies did not want a refinery in Uganda. They said, no, the pipeline. I said, but why are you taking all the oil? I had a rumor that there were human beings here who need petrol also. Why are you taking all the oil? Because economics. Economics. Those who build refineries, why do they build them if it is not economic? Then when I insisted, it turned out that the refinery of Uganda will be one of the most profitable with an internal rate of return of more than 20%. So that's another war we had to fight. They didn't want an oil refinery here. Bananas, like Dr. Mranga, Chamahangire, skins and hides, Nachobe. Can you imagine that you people, you have not been having a factory for making leather for shoes until I had to build it with Nachobe. You are one of your people. We have built it in Kaumu, near my farm. Using the money you gave me. You remember you gave me money. Me, I don't eat your money. I just use it. You gave me 100-something billion for innovation fund, and I have built for you a leather tanning factory in Kaumu, so that our children, you remember I was training here young people to make shoes, do what, but then the problem was leather. Leather had to be bought from Nairobi, from China. Imagine, China, the one selling us leather. What happened to Africans? You are buying, Banyakwela have been keeping cows for the last 7,000 years. And you are now buying leather from Chinese? Why don't you make it yourself here? So we built the factory there. It is soon to be commissioned. Gold, we have now got 6 gold refineries. With coffee, I tried so many groups. Nescafe, Nestle, Tata. There is a Ugandan called Banya. I helped him to do ban coffee, ban cafe. Star Coffee. I tried to work with the Tanzanians in Bukoba to no avail. All these I've been trying them. When I met Madam Pinetti, the one you have been attacking, She had no idea about coffee. It is not her. She had no idea about coffee. I, however, could see that she had a wide network of contacts. I asked her to look into coffee. After some time, she came back with a positive report that it was doable. I am the one who told her. She didn't. For her, she was in hospitals. Therefore, those attacking that project are supporters of to bleed of Africa, perpetual bleeding. If they were not, they would have responded to our call of 1986 and after to come forward and add value to coffee and seek government assistance. So I am ready to sit down with all these coffee people If you want to add value, I will support you. But if you want to be a slave, I will not support you. Nze siwagarangako abagala obuddu for Africa. Instead of attacking the savior or your anatasa, if you are genuine, join the liberation effort. We are here. I will meet all those in the coffee. After my country, I'm going up country in a few days. When I come back, I will call all of you, say, because you have seen the Kibaro now. $460 billion. The coffee producing countries in the whole world only share $25 billion. How can this be? How? How can we accept this? And I call myself president, I call with a flag, with the... I am not a clown. It is criminal for anybody to continue arguing for the continued export of raw materials in Africa when there is 90% more value in that product that you are giving to the outsiders. Apart from the huge expansion of the agricultural sector and the concomitant expansion of the agro-industrial sector, there are industries that we are promoting based on our minerals, oil and gas, refinery, petrochemicals, fertilizers, iron ore, steel, copper, electric industries, cables, transformers, electrical appliances, lithium, electrical car batteries, niobium, ingots, bars, billets, rods, tin plates, buckets, cooking utensils, coltan, laptops, medical equipment, smartphones, wolfram, electric filaments, ammunition, etc. All these we shall have to. We are going to add value to them. I can tell the Parliament, in the cabinet recently, they brought this Ministry of Minerals, brought information that we have got a lot of gold. 320 million tons of gold, confirmed, worth 12-point-something trillion dollars. I said, okay. Mwebale. So what's next? They said, but however, this will be taken by foreigners, all of it. For us, we are very happy. We shall get $680 billion. Imagine, the total gold is 12 trillion point something, almost 13 trillion. Nayebo, these were my wonderful people, ministry people, they were content with 680 billion, which is like 0.7 of a trillion out of 13 trillion. They were ready to they thought it was a good business. I said, no. Out of the 12 trillion, maybe we shall keep 10. Priority. But the resource is yours. How can you accept royalty and you give away your wealth? This is your wealth. If the other, so I asked them, because in petroleum, because the Arabs resisted. Then a concept called production sharing agreement was introduced. PPA, production, PSA, whereby we say, okay, you are an investor, you are putting your money looking for the petroleum. If you find it, you recover the money you put in, and you get some profit, but the resource belongs to the country. Why don't you use the same principle for minerals? No. This gold will not be taken. Mugende mutwale byabalala. When I'm in charge here, God brought me here, and the Ugandans keep supporting me. And I cannot agree to the selling of the resources of Uganda. So all these, like lithium, we are making electric cars. We have lithium. You sell the lithium, other people go and make electric batteries, they sell them to you. Why don't you make the batteries yourself? What is the problem? You have the raw materials, others don't have the raw material. Why don't you use your raw material to make the lithium batteries yourself? You can share with others, sell to others, but also use yourself. The work in the services sector is familiar to honorable members in the form of tourism, transport, like airline, the railway, entertainment, etc. With the masses, apart from the PDM, the Parish Development Model, there is a program of Emyoga, the 18 of them, as listed here: Boda Boda Circle, Women Entrepreneurs Circle, Carpenters Circle, Saloon Operators Circle, Tax Operators Circle, Restaurateurs Circle, Welders Circle, Market Vendors Circle, Youth Leaders Circle, PWDs Circle, Produce Leaders Circle, Mechanics Circle, Tailors Circle, Local Elected Leaders Circle, the Veterans Circle, Journalists Circle, Performing Arts Circle, Fishermen's Circle. The contact point for this effort is at the constituency. As you can see, the spectrum covers most of the modest artisanal skills that produce products for ordinary use. The four sectors, commercial agriculture, big or small, intensive or extensive, industries, big or small, including SMEs and artisanship, services such as transport, hotels, entertainment, professional services, etc., doctors, and ICT, if aggressively pushed, will cause massive socio-economic transformation. I estimate that commercial agriculture alone can create 50 million jobs if you assume 5 million households engaged in small-scale agriculture of the Ruengaju type, and each household employing 10 people. This will be a transitional situation because the developed country economies have small numbers of employees in agriculture and more numbers in services and industry, while underdeveloped economies have many numbers unemployed or in disguised unemployment presented as agriculture, and only a few numbers employed in the four sectors of commercial agriculture, industries, services, and ICT. Akatari kabbe Baganda bwe tugamba. These people who don't know our language, in Uganda we say akatari kabbe amagumba olya osura mu mulyango. We say that something you have not stolen, there is no need to hide it. I have no need to hide my coffee here, because it is mine. Kawa yange munange. Apart from universal commercial agriculture, industries based on agro-processing, forest products, services, and ICT, there are industries that are based on the intellect of the human brain. And energy, including nuclear energy, etc., have each at least a nucleus already laid down here in Uganda as I speak today. All these lines, we have already trained our young people. They are there, and we are supporting them in modest ways. Space science, we have got a unit. Nuclear energy, we've got a unit, and we are moving towards establishing a nuclear plant for electricity and so on, and also for agriculture. We need all this capacity. So therefore, we talk of the four sectors: commercial agriculture for everybody who has got land, industry, services, ICT, and within industry we have got the old industries of agro-processing and minerals, but we have also got new ones, the ones of the intellect, of the brain. The book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 7 in the Bible, tells us that whatever man sows, that is what he reaps. How has the NRM brought Uganda to the doorstep, ecstasy, of of the middle income status from such a low base, and in spite of so many challenges. The following are the reasons. Number one, the correct ideology of the NRM, rejecting the sectarian ideas of the past actors, insisting on patriotism, Pan-Africanism, socio-economic transformation, and democracy. This removed Oburyane. Oburyane is a Nyankore word for disharmony and tension in the villages, from the community and the country. You saw what was happening with the Namugongo people, these people just walking from all over the place. And you have all these negative fellows, like the ones who basically walking to work. If you are walking peacefully, who will mind about you? You could say millions. The people who are in Namugongo, were they not millions? Walking from all who are disturbing, they would have what we call IDP, internally displaced. But they would never go outside the country. So that ideology of the NRM of unity is number one. Number two, a strong army that has ensured peace within Uganda, all the challenges notwithstanding. Number three, a strong private sector, encouraged by the correct pro-private sector policies of the NRM. Most of the surpluses referred to above have been generated by the private sector, farmers, manufacturers, etc. Number four, the correct Pan-African ideology of the NRM that saw the revival of the East African community, the creation of COMESA, and the Abuja Treaty of 1991 that eventually saw the birth of the CFTA, the Continental Free Trade Area. Today, Uganda exports goods and services worth $1.2 billion to East African community, $1.6 billion to COMESA, and $2 billion to the rest of Africa. Algeria has a market of $1.2 billion for dairy products that only awaits us to solve the problem of FMD, Ejwa, and CBPP, Chihaha. Ethiopia has a dairy product market of $30 million that only awaits a reliable road from Kabong Kotido to the southern Ethiopia. Number five, the correct NRM policy of emphasizing science in education and prioritizing the better payment of government scientists if we do not yet have enough money to pay everybody. Africa was colonized and enslaved, and people were exterminated, dominated, or marginalized, not because they lacked storytellers, comedians, musicians, witch doctors and priests, kings and queens, soldiers, farmers, etc., but because they lagged behind in science and technology. That's why we were colonized. We were colonized not because we lacked all these fellows, musicians, storytellers, clowns to make kings laugh. They were all there, but we were colonized because we lagged behind in science and technology. Inability to see this is a threat to our survival as free people, if not survive at all. Our lagging behind in the science and technology of gunpowder and guns, for instance, was one of the greatest handicaps. The private sector needs scientists in addition to managerial cadreship. The state, economic and social infrastructures need scientists, such as researchers, engineers for electricity, engineers for water, engineers for electronics, doctors, vets, etc. So, unity by ideology, the soldiers guarding the peace, the private sector building the economy, the scientists to support this, both the private sector, but also the government infrastructure. Number 6, the correct strategy of the NRM, developing the infrastructure, the roads, the railway, the electricity, the piped water, the telephones, the internet, etc. The crucial roles of infrastructure are to enable, e.g. electricity, and connect, e.g. roads, the producers of goods and services and their consumers, and do so cheaply, so that the product is not overpriced and therefore being competitive in the market. We could have achieved much more if it was not for either the confused people or the enemies of Africa, many of them obstructing us, many times obstructing us. I, for instance, remember the sabotage of Uganda Temple of Development by the 6th Parliament of 1999 on the 8th of November, when they blocked the agreement I had negotiated with the AES, American Energy Service, to produce power at 4.9 American cents at Bujagali. And Mr. Chat Chai of Mali Samparan Public Company of Thailand, who was chased by Parliament, whom I had mobilized with the late Mzee Mrwana to help us with the milk processing. Dr. Muranga's banana project has been obstructed many times. Recently, we witnessed the mishandling of the Coffee Valley addition effort here in the Parliament. Uganda has made these gigantic steps, such obstructions notwithstanding. When it comes to the recent high commodity prices, caused initially by the relaunch of the world economy after the 2 years of lockdown, and additionally by the war in Ukraine, our decision, after careful analysis, is to avoid the traps of tax cuts and subsidies. Instead, we are doing two things. One is to engage the global actors that have caused these artificial shortages. I have contacted some of the actors. I'm in touch with those. I'm glad H.E. Biden is going to Saudi Arabia to meet the Crown Prince to get OPEC to pump more petroleum out of the ground. That will definitely help. Also, the chairperson of the African Union, His Excellency Macky Sall, met His Excellency Putin in Sochi, Russia, to ask him to assist in getting the wheat of Ukraine out of the ports of Odessa. And he has also talked to the Europeans to stop sanctioning wheat from Russia and fertilizers because Africa needs them. This is one of the correct ways. We shall use diplomacy to solve this problem created by these wonderful people who fight instead of talking. The other one is to get our own substitutes, like you saw here in the palm oil. Very soon Uganda will be the biggest producer of palm oil in the world. And we would have done it long ago if it was not so, again, for the obstruction in Sango Bay and in Karanga, in Buvuma. There was the young member of parliament there, Egunyu. Oh, waste a lot of time. The other one is to get our own substitutes, cassava and banana flour for bread, and our own sunflower, soya beans oil, as we wait for our more quantities of palm oil from Sango Bay, Mayuge, Buvuma, Maruzi, Bundubujo, etc. Cutting taxes or subsidies, especially on imports, is suicidal, because our people may buy carelessly and we end up draining our foreign exchange reserves. Cutting taxes or subsidizing means taking money away from the planned projects and putting it in consumption. Consumption of fuel, bread, etc. That means we stop, for instance, the following roads: Kigumba, Bulima, Kaboya, Chenjojo, 235 kilometers. Those are ongoing. Rukunjiri, Chihi, Shashakanungu, Masindi, Para, Hoima, Butaba, Wanseko. Those are already ongoing, but they are new ones. Buhimba, Narwe, Bulamaji, Iganga, Kakumiro, Masindi, Biso, Hohanya, Irongo, Charushesha, Butore, Fumbi, Kapchoro, Sam, Sutiakla, Ropi, Busega Mpige Expressway, Muyembe na Kapiripirit, Naja na Nkumbi Busabala, Kira, Matuga, Ruenkunyu, Apach, Lira, Puranga, Moroto, Loktanyara, rehabilitation of Mtiana Mbende Road, Arui, Nebi, and so many of those who stop these roads, so that money is put in subsidizing fuel and subsidizing bread. These roads, these projects help these areas. If you go, for instance, now the other day I was in Katakwi, in Olirim, I was passing out soldiers. The area has changed completely because of that tarmac road. Or stopping the secondary schools, such as Nobo Mayombo Seed Secondary School in Kavarore, Awara Seed Secondary School in Arua, Nairambe Seed Secondary School in Buvuma, or universities like Soroti, Moon University, or cutting some money from PDM or Emyoga, meaning money taken away from production to consumption on account of a temporary problem. Let us maintain our momentum of development. The high commodity prices will be solved in other ways, some of them outlined above. In foreign affairs, Uganda abstained in the votes in the UN on the issue of Ukraine. You must have heard the arguments of the two sides. We have communicated our views confidentially to the two sides, the Western Bloc and Russia. At some stage, we shall give our views publicly. Our views are very correct, but we are giving them quietly. On the issue of security within the Great Lakes region, the regional conferences like the one we had in Nairobi some weeks ago on the issue of security within the region, in the regional conferences, like the one we had in Nairobi some weeks ago, we share our history with the African brothers and sisters. Some of the problems never get solved on account of mixing up three issues: armed conflicts for just causes, armed conflicts for reactionary aims, and the use of terrorist methods, whatever the nature of the conflict, just or unjust. The tendency, which is not correct, is to bunch all conflicting parties as negative forces. Uganda is a good laboratory for all manner of conflicts. We have the just wars like the ones waged between 1971 and 1986 by the different fighting groups against the regimes of Amin, Obote II, and Okero. Why just? Why did we call them just wars? It is because the fight was about the freedom of vote by secret ballot for all adults above the age of 18 at regular intervals. The struggle against extrajudicial killings, the struggle against sectarianism that was enforced by arms, etc. The last elections had been in April 1962, and we never had any other elections until the 10th of December 1980, after 18 years. Even those elections were contested from the beginning of the process to the end. We tried to talk to the groups that thought they had the upper hand, to no avail. And once still, they would kill anybody with a different opinion. Ben Kiwanuka, Basilio Bataringaya, Alexander Latim, Oriema, Kasura, Sebugwao, Rutamaguzi, Nkanjwa, etc. People are being killed. We therefore had no alternative but to fight. That is why, between 1966 and 1986, Uganda was among the top 4 refugees generating countries in the world at that time. At one time, Uganda had 500,000 refugees, almost the whole population of West Nile, in exile in Congo and South Sudan. While I do not want to talk about other African countries, I am sure that I can safely cite at least 2 examples. The struggle by the SPLM of the Sudan against the Arab Islamic chauvinist regime of Khartoum, which was insisting that the very dark Dinkas, Shiruks, Nuer, etc. of South Sudan were Arabs and had to live under Sharia law. If you have got a sample of a South Sudanese and he stands up and you see him, and you call him an Arab, you must be out of your mind. How do you resolve that madness? These were mad. You know, we would spend years talking to Bashir, but these people are not Arabs. Why do you call Sudan an Arab country? And why do you want to make Sudan Islamic? These are not Muslims. They are not even, many of them are not even Christian. They are our traditional religion. Why do you bury them? But madness is quite democratic in the world. About the in South Africa, who the answer was a just war in each of the above situations. You then have unjust wars of either aggression or of reactionary non-progressive. Take the colonial wars of conquest. Why were the colonials conquering other countries? Did they have Lakuna? Megwa. In Acholi, that means our government, by which she meant the Acholi tribal government over the whole of Uganda. These were aims, all right, but they were wrong aims, oppressive aims, negative and progressive aims. They were therefore reactionary, pinga maendeleo aims, and hence the wars fought in their implementation were unjust wars, just like the wars of the colonial conquest. Having talked about just and unjust wars, we also clarified the issue of terrorism. It is wrong to say that every armed group is a terrorist group, whether they are fighting a just or unjust war. Take Lakwana, for instance. Although she was fighting an unjust war of Acholi sectarianism, she was definitely not a terrorist because she was not using terrorist methods. Terrorist methods mean using violence indiscriminately, such as attacking non-combatants, killing prisoners of war, or torturing them. Lakwana was confused, using the witchcraft of the smearing her fighters with the oil of moya tree, shea butter tree, and telling them that they were immune to bullets, but she was not targeting non-combatants. She was not killing prisoners of war. That is how Major Bielsi survived, one of our army officers. When Bielsi was captured, Lakwana said, no, you bring him here. I will make him a member of the Holy Spirit movement, of the Lakwana movement. Then Bielsi was put there and he was smeared with moya and took the first chance to escape again. So definitely Lakwana was not a terrorist. She was confused, but not a terrorist. Cohen and ADF were, on the other hand, fighting both an unjust war, but also a terrorist one. Why? It is because they were targeting non-combatants, killing prisoners of war, etc., the Atiak massacre, the Baronyo massacre, the Stramba burning of 8 students in the dormitory, the Kiburara Seminary massacre, the abductions of young people to force them to fight for them, the abduction of sex slaves. It is those acts that make a fighter a terrorist. Even if you are fighting for a just cause, if you target non-combatants, use forced recruitment other than conscription by the state, kill prisoners of war, take sex slaves, you become a terrorist. Therefore, in the whole of the Great Lakes area, the concerned groups should be audited as to whether they are fighting for a just cause or not, and as to whether they are using terrorist methods or not. What is then the correct method of resolving such armed conflicts? what is our experience? Our experience and even other good experiences show that combining both political and military methods is the correct way, especially for the non-terrorist armed groups, even when they are fighting for an unjust cause, e.g. sectarianism. Priority should be given to dialogue leading to a political solution. Even for the terrorist groups, if they accept dialogue, it should be tried. It is through dialogue, combined with military efforts, that we reach solutions with Angelo Okero, Bamuze, Musa Echweru. Musa Echweru is here. Where is Musa Echweru? That man was a rebel. Benzi, UFM, FEDEM, ETC. Using force is like using surgery in medicine. Surgery is used as a method of last resort when less violent methods to the body can no longer work. Even then, it should be used in a very restricted way, affecting only the sick part, not the rest of the body. East Africa, under our chairman, H.E. Kenyatta, can resolve all these security challenges using appropriate actions, political methods where feasible, and force where necessary. Uganda is ready and able to contribute to all these efforts. Congo and Uganda, since November 30th, 2021, crushed the ADF in Eastern Congo. ADF cannot operate in large groups anymore in the three sectors of Sector 2, Ituri, Sector 1 and 2, North Kivu. I think one is Sector 3, Sector 2, Ituri, Sector 1 and 3 in North Kivu. The ADF survivors have either gone into hiding or have fled beyond what we call the limit of exploitation, the boundary where the Congo Army allowed us to reach. However, in smaller groups, I'm told the ADF is still sneaking back in some of the sectors and areas. There is a solution to such a problem that we used to deal with those smaller groups attacking the soft targets of unguarded wananchi. We are discussing all this with the government of Congo. Within Uganda, we have strengthened the security on the whole, including Karamoja and the surrounding districts. We have trained tens of thousands of LDUs that are at Kaweta, Laboldong, Olodim, etc. recently, and many of them have been absorbed into the divisions to boost manpower. As I've said repeatedly, the cattle rustlers will soon lose appetite for the gun. However, the cattle rustlers and other terrorists should be condemned, and they should also condemn themselves because of Okwetera and Ovo, Bekube and Ovo. We football players, sometimes you can hurt yourself, you can kick your own shin, and it's very painful. And it is called Okwetera and Ovo. I think in Uganda they will call it Okwekube and Ovo. Hurting one's shin as you play football. In 1991, we reduced the manpower of the army from 100,000 to 40,000 to save money by having less infantry so that we can buy better equipment on account of the situation in the region at that time that had the potential for possible interstate conflicts. You could not fight such conflicts with just infantry, soldiers just walking on foot. Even counterinsurgency needed some capacity of combined arms. That is how we were able to build the strategic elements of our defense forces such as Air Force, artillery, tanks, reconnaissance, etc. That is how we were able to achieve victories and cope with the dangerous security situations in the region. Having smaller numbers of personnel and more equipment was a smart way of building a modern army able to defend the borders of the country against external serious threats. The modern equipment alone, however, will not handle indisciplined elements walking on foot, stealing cattle, killing people, raping women, etc. On account of activities of those confused people, we are now forced to build up the manpower of the armed forces again, far above the figure of 1991. That means a bigger wage bill, feeding, health, education for the children of the soldiers, accommodation, etc. This is the money we should be spending Moja and other areas on the roads, the schools, the health centers, the partial development model, the Emyoga. Indeed, the Karamojong have seen the tarmac road from Soroti to Moroto, from Moroto to Nakapiripirit, the electricity from Opuyo to Moroto, from Moroto to Kotido, Kabonga, Bim. They have seen the schools. They have seen the health centers. It is government money that has been doing all that. Nevertheless, we are now diverted by our indisciplined cattle rustlers to spend money on more soldiers, infantry, to fight what war and against whom? Fight a war of ignorance and fight against our expanded prosperity. All understanding people should denounce this sabotage. You, the leaders, really should talk to our people that they are undermining themselves. Because the money we are spending on soldiers, what? This is money which they should be using to solve their problems. With what I have said above, Uganda is on the right path and has been for the last 36 years. We only need to be mindful of 3 points: the environment, corruption, and chauvinism in business. You have seen what can happen to countries when they cannot produce their own food. There is no problem Uganda cannot solve, as I have said above, as long as we are able to produce most or all of our food. To do this, you need soil and, above all, fresh water. This means environmental protection, protecting the wetlands, all of them, the river banks, the lake shores, and the forests, and also planting trees, even in inhabited areas. I have warned all sub-county and Miluka chiefs, as well as cows, not to forget the environment officers, the GSOs and the DSOs, manning areas where I will discover encroachment on wetlands will be sacked, and if legally possible, also criminally prosecuted. This is for all areas of Uganda, except some areas of Busoga, Bukedi, and Kigezi, where historically there was misguided government encouragement of people going into wetlands to grow swamp rice and start dairy farms. Those areas of historical mistakes will also be recovered by working with the stakeholders to shift to fish farming in the periphery of those wetlands, which activity is much more profitable, so as to allow the wetlands to regenerate. All the others must unconditionally leave the wetlands because nobody took them there, and many of these are recent, which means they are doing it in deliberate defiance of plans to save their country. The swamp of Busemba between Kiroro and Karasa was the river crossing where our machine gunner, Mondo Tumhairwe, used to do a lot of damage to the UNLA. There was not a single encroacher at that time. It is now invaded, and so is Mayanja, Wenkarwe, Wabukokoma, etc. When I go to those areas, I really want to get out of the car and start fighting. These are areas I know very well. They must get out. Those swamps had nobody who was in those swamps. When I flew to Kiwoko recently, I saw the swamps that feed into Mayanja, Machebebe, Chizikibi, etc., Binji and Crockstone. This is my last warning to the local authorities all over Uganda. Damage to our local water bodies affects 40% of our rainfall. How can we tolerate that? This is a danger to our very own existence. The global mistake makers are endangering the globe and humanity with the greenhouse gases. Humanity will struggle against them. Why should we reinforce their mistakes with ours? Another danger to our rapid socio-economic transformation is the corruption of political actors and public servants who do not only steal government money, thereby denying the population the services that money would have provided, but they also parasite on our business people. Business people and investors do not feel beholden to these parasites, expose both their requests for bribes and their schemes for frustrating those that do not pay bribes. Action will be taken for the benefit of the business atmosphere in the country. Finally, on strategic issues, I must point out the mistake of those who proclaim what they call indigenous business people as being more useful to the country than the foreigners. Some people even talk of factory Yomuyindi, an Indian factory. There are no Indian or Chinese factories in Uganda. Indian factories and Chinese factories are in India and China respectively. Economics helped us to understand this problem long ago by providing for us a measurement of the size of the economy with two measurements: GDP, gross domestic product, and GNP, gross national product. GDP refers to the value of all production of goods and services on our territory, whether by our citizens or not. GNP is the measurement of the value of the production of goods and services by our citizens, whether on our territory or elsewhere. Economies that do not discriminate among wealth creators prosper. The German Jew, by the names of Robert Oppenheimer, who was discriminated by the Nazi in Germany, is the one that helped the USA to develop a nuclear bomb. The people that should be discriminated are the unrepentant comprador bourgeoisie, the commission agents, the the importers of foreign consumer goods that could be made here, the exporters of unprocessed raw materials at 10% of their eventual value as the final products. These are the ones that we should talk about. A foreign manufacturer of goods based in Uganda is more useful to the country than an importer of foreign consumer goods that can be made here, who is a citizen of Uganda. However, patriotic importers do not import perennially, endlessly. I was told that Dangote used to import cement, but graduated and became a cement manufacturer, not only in Nigeria, but in many parts of Africa. I was also told that in 1931, Samsung was importing textiles in South Korea. He graduated from that and became the big producer of electronic gadgets, such as computers. Let us stop mixing water with mud by calling bad good and good bad. Such countries stagnate. China developed because of the clear vision of Mao Zedong and Deng Xiaoping. Mao Zedong helped China by pointing out the positive alliance of what he called the four classes: the national bourgeoisie, the peasants, the proletariat, and the patriotic petty bourgeoisie, against the parasitic comprador agent bourgeoisie that were working as foreign agents for other people's interests. There was a group called Kasita here. That Kasita, their business was importing Oaxaca. And at one time they even organized a strike because we had put taxes on their carpets and women's hair and what they were importing from outside. They went on a strike and we said, okay, we're going to fight you. So those who they are the problem. Therefore, let all the NRM MPs and other positive elements rally around the patriotic program of the NRM that has transformed Uganda from the failed state of 1986, with the economy expanding in size 30 times plus in the 30 years, in spite of the endless betrayals by certain elements. Those who cause frictions among the NRM fraternity should be carefully examined. Why can't you discuss any matter in a non-antagonistic way? Why? Because I normally hear people fighting this one. Why do you fight somebody who is on your side? Why don't you go and talk to him or her? What is this? Even if somebody is making a mistake, go and talk to him or her. Then you go together. You see the speaker, you see the prime minister, you see the vice president, and solve it. But tension. This one is accusing that. Why? That's not a good sign. Anybody who is causing unnecessary friction among us is not a good person. Because the problem is that, of course, you are not fighter. You have never fought. You are just there in air conditioning and eating mandas and things like that. But for me, I appreciate, because at one time, when we were attacking Idi Amin in 1972, I had one UPC neighbor, a young boy who had been recruited by UPC, who didn't know how to fight. We were fighting soldiers at Makenke, opposite Mbara barracks on the left as you face Masaka. And we were on an anthill. I was on an anthill firing at these huge fellows with big stomachs. I think I punctured a few of them. And then this UPC boy was afraid. He didn't even see where he was firing. He put a gun near my ear, fired! The eardrum almost burst. So when you have got a bad neighbor, that's when you know. But for you people, God has given you all these friends. You can relate with them for a lifetime, but instead you are fighting, you are accusing one another. You are what? Instead of using good methods of interacting so that you get a common solution, the thing is to undermine one another. That's not good. That's not a good sign. If you see such people, you should know that they are not good people. For me, I need people. Because I need them. For you, Mnyankwere will say, I think you don't even know our local languages. Because Mnyankwere will say, no kwata bantu ijaga nko bashagize. You are mishandling people as if you have got excess people on your side. The Mnyankwere say, even if you have got a number of things, any addition to you is welcome. That's why one time I quarreled with my people. You know, there was a bad girl called Beatrice Anywar. Do you know that woman? That girl was really a confused type. But I used to talk well with her. Whenever I met her, you would talk. Because my job is to win over people. Even those who are against me. So one time we were in a place called Omia Nyima. And I don't know what God had visited Anwar. She came to my rally. Because she was like an enemy, she was attacking me all the time. But me, I would talk to her very nicely. But when she came to my rally, my people refused to give her a chair. I was really annoyed with my people. Why do you refuse to give Anwar a chair? She's on the other side, she has come. She's adding to our strength. Why do you to treat her as if she's a bad person? I was not happy with my group there in Omia Nyima. It is blessed, even biblically, for you to bring people together instead of causing conflict. The bulk of the 11th Parliament have been acting positively. Mwebale apoyo matek eyalama alakaranoe awadefo I congratulate everybody. The other people, I wanted to fight the guards who were shouting at me the other day. But when I went there and ran away, I was ready for them. But later on, I used my spy network to know who they were. I will phone them up and we'll sort it out. I congratulate everybody, especially the Speaker, and the Deputy Speaker. I also congratulate the Vice President and the Prime Minister, the latter being leader of government business in Parliament. On account of this positiveness, Parliament has passed the following legislations in the last 12 months. The Administration of Parliament Bill 2021, the National Social Security Fund, you know the laws we have passed. They are all here. I think I have a list here of 23. Thank you so much. Some of these are very strategic for the further growth of the economy. These include the law on the East African oil pipeline, known as the East African Crude Oil Pipeline, ECOP, Special Provisions Bill 2021, and the one that allows industrial parks to get power direct from the generation by bypassing umeme. I thank and I congratulate everybody that was involved. In the coming year, the government will bring the following bills. They are all here. They are listed here. You will get a copy of the speech. There are so many. Let me see how many are they? 62. So I don't have to read them, but they are in the speech which they will give you. Uganda and Africa are unstoppable. Long live Uganda, long live East Africa, long live Africa. I thank everybody. After overcoming the consequences of COVID-19 and the high commodity prices, we shall go back to our other manifesto issues, e.g. free education. On Corona, however, the public needs to be careful again. Why were people not putting on masks at Namugongo? I was watching those Namugongo people, they were not putting on masks. I think they may think wrongly that when you are in a church you don't get infected. So I'm a bit worried about what I saw happening there. We are now again getting 2 deaths per week from Corona. Be alert again, please. I thank you and I wish everybody good luck. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Excellency, for the good message, and thank you for honoring our invitation and fulfilling your constitutional obligation under Article 101 of the Constitution of Uganda. On a special note, we want to thank the First Lady, Mama Janet, for creating time to be with us amidst your busy schedule. We are forever grateful, Mama. Thank you for coming. The address has set out the government agenda for the next 1 year. Take note, honorable members of Parliament, what we are expected to deliver. Thank you so much for highlighting the priorities of government which will guide us in executing our mandate of Parliament. That includes legislation, appropriation, oversight role. I also want to thank our colleagues, the speakers, the presiding officers from the neighboring countries in particular, and all the dignitaries, the guests for honoring our invitation in the first sitting of today. And on a special note, thank you, honorable members of Parliament, for being good members of Parliament. I would also want to thank our friends in the Fourth Estate for the role they play in communicating very vital information to the public. You are good partners in development. However, the problem with you is that what is falsehood moves faster than what is the truth. So you need to watch out on that. We are introducing a bill on computer misuse, and that one will sort out these problems. Honorable members, His Excellency, the President will be back here on 14th June 2022 to present the budget speech pursuant to Article 155, Clause 1 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. I once again want to thank Your Excellency for a very enriching speech or State of Nation address, which has been very concise and very educative. It has clarified a number of issues that were raised that have been in the social media and that have been in the public domain, like the issue of the coffee. Parliament will continue to fulfill its mandate of representation, legislation, oversight, and most importantly, appropriation. The House is, honorable members, as the President leaves, kindly stay behind. The House is adjourned to 14th June 2022 at 2 p.m. for the budget speech.
The anthems. bills that the Parliament needs to consider, debate, talk about, and possibly pass in the next session. The Speaker of Parliament, just a while ago when she was also talking, she intimated to us how they intend to bring the amendment bill to the Computer Misuse Act. These are some of the things that we expect in this session that has been launched today. Now, of course, ceremonially, this is what normally happens here, that His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker, and some other dignitaries, of course, I can't see the Chief Justice just right there, and the Parliament, the clerk's office, of course, having a group photograph, which is normally the norm or the tradition after such a day like this day that you've seen. We will return here next week on Thursday, of course, when Parliament now resumes and starts business, which is going to be their first sitting to hear the budget that will be presented by the executive to Parliament to consider the budget that was already passed, the budget for 2022-2023 financial year. And of course, that is what will still happen here. It's just been a very eventful day here, as we witnessed and as we heard from His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, sharing and of course talking to Ugandans about this particular State of the Nation address with members of Parliament here. We'll start with my sister from Kitgum, the Honorable Lillian Abel. A very good evening, and of course the man has spoken to us, very elaborate, and of course